So, hello everyone, welcome to another day in the clown decade. This time, luckily, there seems to actually be some pushback when it comes to the clown world. Since, as I covered in a video last week, at the Met Gala, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had a dress made for her by a woman who apparently specialises in African styles and African techniques in making dresses. So they had this incredibly westernised dress saying "tax the rich" on it, and that was it. That's apparently what made AOC so amazing there. And obviously in interviews, AOC was being a massive idiot, just saying, oh, well, we've got two working class women of colour, who AOC I think you can make the case for, but not very well. And the other woman is an immigrant from Canada who spent a year or two travelling across Africa. So it's your basic bitch excuse for doing stupid hypocrisy like this, which is, ooh, I'm a minority, ooh, I'm working class. And obviously boomer conservatives and people like me were pointing out how hypocritical this is, especially with the example of this clip.
Yes, AOC!
Yes, she is being followed along like royalty. She has a masked servant carrying her dress for her. I've been to weddings where people didn't have that. And obviously everyone around is screaming, saying, oh my god, AOC, woo! Like absolute soy jacks, or women who have nothing better to do with their life than fawn over idiots. But obviously the point I'm trying to make here is that she's got a dress on saying tax the rich, and she is being treated, walking around, and acts as one of the rich. And yet she doesn't apply this to her, as you can tell. Since realistically, no one is actually going to go around saying, please tax me more. You can tell this by all the Turning Point USA videos where they go out in the streets, say, hey, do you think we're taxed enough? People will say no, and then they have, oh, well, here, you can pay more in taxes of your free will. And no one ever does it. So getting back on track, obviously, after this blatant hypocrisy, people, boomercons, just generally the right, were pointing out the hypocrisy and being very critical of AOC. And this is obviously something her and her fans couldn't ignore. So she was asked through some Ask Me Anything app on Instagram, I think it was, this: loved your dress, but what do you say to the critics for attending the Met Gala? And AOC starts by saying, I thought about the criticism I'd get, but honestly, I and my body have been so heavily and relentlessly policed from all corners politically since the moment I won my election that it's kind of become expected and normalised to me. So already just not addressing the issue at all. She is essentially trying to say that she has been slut-shamed. That is essentially what she is saying here, which was no one's issue. The irony is that when women in power take the prospect of criticism to be cautious in their actions, they are then criticised for being inauthentic and too calculated. I don't think that's true. Ultimately, the haters hated and the people who were thoughtful were thoughtful. Meaningless, but we all had a conversation about taxing the rich in front of the very people who lobby against it and punctured the fourth wall of excess and spectacle.
Yes, AOC!
Yes, I'm fully convinced you were there to puncture the fourth wall and not to be lauded as a celebrity. Anyway, unfortunately, she does carry on. Honestly, our culture is deeply disdainful and unsupportive of women, especially women of colour and working class women, and LGBTQ, immigrant, etc., from the bottom up, whether it's lack of childcare support or especially reserving pillory for elected women and femme people. She says this while being lauded as a celebrity with her fashion designer partner, who literally was an immigrant and is a woman of colour. I'm not saying that, is a black woman. Oh, honestly, the more intersections one has, the deeper the disdain. As you could tell from her being lauded as a bloody celebrity. I am so used to doing the same exact thing that men do, including popular male progressive elected officials, and getting a completely different response. So all I can do is acknowledge that reality and make decisions as I am, and as I grow throughout my life. It's a complete disregard for the actual issues here. She's just saying, oh, I'm a woman of colour and I'm treated differently, which I don't even think is true. People call leftist men morons and hypocrites and all that. Don't give me this shit. For example, did you know many elected officials regularly attend due to our responsibilities in keeping cultural institutions accessible to the public? Again, This wasn't the issue. The issue isn't that you attended. The issue is that you went, were lauded as a celebrity, acted like the rich or the elite, while at the same time trying to criticise them very poorly. It was awful, and you know it was hypocritical. That's why you're not addressing it. That I was one of many yesterday. Did you know that if you live in the New York City area, you can go to the Met, including the same costume exhibit the wealthy saw last night, for as little dollars as you like? That's not true, because I've been to New York, and it cost over $100 to get in the Met, because museums aren't free over there, which was really odd for me, because museums are free in England. Check it out this weekend, because the Met belongs to the people. Wow, wow.
Yes, AOC!
I could just play this clip every time she tries to say, oh, I'm one of the people, I'm one of the plebs. Yeah, you clearly are, AOC. Clearly the Met is for the people. That's why there are barriers up to protect you from the riffraff of the people. I mean, this is just hilarious. So, obviously during this AMA, she was constantly asked about the similar things. And she did videos for them too, and they are just crazy. I mean, just take a look at this clip.
I mean, this is the trick that people use all the time, right? They want you to think that when we talk about rich, we're talking about a doctor or a lawyer instead of someone with hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars. That's what we mean by rich.
I just love it. The bar gets higher and higher every time they mean rich, until all they are going to mean in the end is Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. Because when AOC started out, when she meant rich, she meant anyone over $100,000. Thing is, she's now worth over $100,000, so now the bar just keeps getting higher, and I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of her terms in Congress, she's a millionaire, and pulls a Hassan Piker and constantly goes to the Met Gala, wearing even more outlandish dresses with even more outlandish political slogans. I mean, honestly, she says it's a trick. Look, AOC, doctors and lawyers are some of the richest professions you can get into, and the reason for that is you have to put a fuckload of work in to become one to earn that wage. It's okay if they're rich. Just don't be a hypocrite and say, when I mean rich, I just mean people I don't like who have more money than me, because that is all you mean. And that is why people at the Met Gala were so unthreatened by you. And these clips do not get any better for her. Just look how much of an idiot she is. She just does not have any basic understanding of the economic realities of being that rich. The reason they don't pay much in income tax is because they don't get much in terms of an actual income. They own businesses. They own liquid assets. It's not like they have a massive bank like Scrooge McDuck with a pool of money that they just keep adding to every year with billions of dollars through Amazon and Tesla. They have a set income by the board of directors that's actually relatively low, because they own the business and own most of the risk for their companies. So when they're worth something, when they're worth millions or billions, it's not because they have millions and billions in a bank, it's because they own assets. And Elon Musk downsized to a $50,000 home in Texas. And he's one of your examples. Is he rich? Yes, in terms of paper wealth, but not in terms of an actual bank account. Because he's constantly reinvesting his money back into his business, back into jobs for the country, back into projects and charities he believes in. You're an absolute fool, AOC. But I think one of my favourite clips has to be her explaining why her going to a Met Gala that costs $35,000 per ticket with a dress saying tax the rich isn't ironic.
You know, I'm hearing some folks, especially the right wing, having this critique about Monday saying, isn't it ironic that she showed up in a tax the rich dress?
Yes, AOC, because especially by world standards and even American standards, you are rich. And you are at a gala exclusively for the rich. That is quintessential irony. But go on, make your excuses.
And I think we need to go back to literary class a little bit. This conversation comes up. Now, the definition of irony is the use of words that mean the opposite of what you really think, especially in order to be funny.
Now, you will notice here that she is focusing on the first definition, and there are two definitions in the Merriam-Webster dictionary. But she is specifically going for the definition that is weaker in this case. And the reason for that is that, as she says, we need to go back to literacy class. So I'm going to do that right after she finishes her clip.
That's not the opposite of what we need to tax the rich, and we need to confront this establishment and this concentration of wealth that likes to consider or market itself as liberal or progressive, but wants to do absolutely wealth inequality, and oftentimes lobbies to protect laws, including in the Democratic Party, to preserve the establishment of their class interest.
Just thought I'd let that play out so that you know that you're dealing with an ideologue. It's AOC, of course you are, but I still thought I'd go through it. But she didn't seem to realise that all she got was positivity from the people at the Met Gala. You know, the rich, the people that she is apparently against. And this is just how stupid she is. She doesn't realise that taxing the rich is actually part of their lobbying. As I mentioned in the last video, they do try and raise taxes because then it gets even harder for the wealth to spread out, because these people who are lobbying for the laws will, one, know the loopholes in the laws, so they'll send all their money offshore and whatever, and secondly, it makes it harder for people to amass the personal wealth to actually get into the class of the rich, meaning that they stay rich while the poor stay poor. So well done, AOC, you are a complete moron, doing exactly what these people want you to do. But I think that's enough of her going off being an ideologue. But I do want to point out what the second definition of irony is according to the Merriam-Webster dictionary. So, definition number 2, a situation that is strange or funny because things happen in a way that seem to be the opposite of what you'd expect. So yes, what is ironic or strange or funny about going to a Met Gala that is especially and exclusively for the rich in a dress that says tax the rich on the back is that you wouldn't expect that, making it ironic, AOC. So yes, the word irony, or ironic in this case, is very applicable to the situation you were in. You complete ham sandwich. So on a final point of AOC's reaction to all this, she quote tweeted an article about her dress at the Met Gala defending her. And I'm not going to go through the article because it's shite, but I do want to point out that AOC quotes from it saying femininity has the power to make the world talk. And if that is true, maybe it also has the power to make the world organise, vote, think critically and consider the well-being of their neighbours. So in short, yet again, AOC's entire defence of this is I am a woman, or some other intersectional argument. If this woman can keep getting voted back into Congress, then that means any donkey with a blue lanyard on would be able to get voted in by the state of New York. But this is just one of the many issues with democracy, unfortunately. Now, if you want to really get into what the definition of irony is, I think it's time to take a look at the designer of this dress, AOC's partner in crime. So according to the New York Post, AOC's Tax the Rich dress designer, Aurora James, owes debt in multiple states, and that means debt in terms of taxation. To make this really clear, it is perfect and quintessential irony to design a dress saying tax the rich while at the same time you are literally dodging taxes, no matter what your wealth is. So, designer Aurora James called her Tax the Rich dress for Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez a powerful message, but it's not one she has taken to heart. The 37-year-old fashionista, who made waves at the Met Gala with Democratic Socialist AOC last week, is a notorious tax deadbeat, with unpaid debts dogging her in multiple states, records show. Dear oh dear oh dear, this is not a good look. Most of the looks living James's appears centre on Cultural Brokerage Agency, an LLC she formed in 2011 to serve as the parent company of her fashion brand, which today is known as Brother Veliez. It's a favourite of people like Beyoncé, Rihanna and Meghan Markle. I presume these are the exact type of people you want to tax AOC and Aurora James. The company racked up 3 open tax warrants in New York State for failing to withhold income taxes from employees' paychecks totaling $14,798. The State Department of Taxation and Finance told the Post the debts, which were incurred before the pandemic, stemmed from 2018 to 2019. The company has been hit with 15 warrants in total since 2015. Wow, she's done really good at dodging all these warnings. The company got into a deeper hole with the feds between April 2018 and April 2019. The Internal Revenue Service placed 6 federal liens on Cultural Brokerage Agency totaling $103,000. The Leon specifically cites the company's failure to remit employee payroll taxes. The IRS declined to comment on their current status. That is an awful lot of money that has not been taxed. It almost looks like the type of paycheck to the government a rich person would have to make. And things only get better. While James apparently had no problem stiffing the taxman, she isn't shy about taking money from taxpayers. Her company received $41,666 in pandemic relief aid. Over the years, Cultural Brokerage Agency has also faced multiple legal challenges as a result of habitual non-payment of worker benefits. In October 2019, the State Workers' Compensation Board slapped the company with a $17,000 fine for not carrying workers' comp insurance between March 2017 and February 2018. The company currently owes $62,000 and no payments have been received to date. A representative for the board told the Post workers' comp is paid out when an employee is hurt at work and misses time. So they have just not been compensating workers at all should they get hurt at work. It's just, you get hurt at work, oh, that's your problem. Say goodbye to your paycheck. Honestly, it seems that every socialist and person that's like the rich are evil all end up being the worst type of people when they actually own businesses. It's pure projection, so ex-staffers blasted the operation as a sweatshop that relied on legions of unpaid interns working full-time jobs. I experienced a lot of harassment when I worked for one former contract employee told the Post. Aurora would ask me to do things that were not in anyone's job description, like scheduling her gynecological appointments. The work environment was so hostile that I was afraid to ask for my check. The employee was ultimately terminated. Oh my god, that is horrible. An ex-intern called James quite cold, adding that she never gives recognition or acknowledgement to her team. James is also an alleged rent deadbeat records show. In August 2020, James's landlord filed papers to evict brothers Vellies from their location at 71 Franklin Street in Brooklyn, as well as demanding more than $25,000 plus interest for staying beyond the end of her lease. The case was settled. She was sued by a previous landlord in February 2018 for more than $5,000 in unpaid rent at her shop's old address at 209 West 38th Street in Manhattan. This is crazy. And despite all that, well, not despite the tax dodging, this is probably because of it. So because of the tax dodging and the rent dodging as well, apparently, it's crazy. So though AOC proudly labelled James a working class designer as they waltzed down the Met Gala red carpet, her lifestyle has been anything but. As the pandemic raged across America, igniting a deep recession, James scooped up a $1.6 million residence in Los Angeles in September 2020. The Tudor-style home with cathedral ceilings, a master bedroom fireplace and backyard hot tub sits on 7,095 square feet in the posh Hollywood Hills, according to Redfin. She is unironically just the woman version of Hassan Piker. Although, to be fair, it does sound like she at least attempts to do something remotely productive. But she still treats her employees like shit and bleats on about taxing the rich, despite being a total cunt to her workers and also dodging tax herself, despite herself being a millionaire. Again, it's just a thing of living by your principles. If you don't live by your principles, no one is going to follow or listen to you. And unfortunately, if you have any power or influence, you're just going to make things worse. I don't know why people would look up to anyone like her or AOC. So, in conclusion, AOC and her designer turn out to be massive hypocrites and don't understand the meaning of irony. Clown world, absolute clown world, but there does seem to actually be some pushback against these two people, even from their own side, so I'm quite happy about that. Hopefully with these little pushes back, we will soon be out of the clown decade. Though I still think things are going to get worse before they get better. Anyway, that's everything I had for you today, so as usual, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.